Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is June the 27th, 2023, which is kind of wild when you think about it because we've been doing this on and off for about a year. And I think we're going to touch off the top here why we haven't been doing this as much in a second. But joining me, as always, wouldn't do it without him. It's Ryan. What's going on, dude? Big week.
Howdy. It is a big week. We coming off a couple good runs, coming into Chicago Street Course. I think we've all circled this week as the week that if AJ was going to get a win, this was probably his best shot. So this is definitely a huge week for Kaulig Racing, and I'm very excited to be back and talking about Kaulig and all of the teams as they've all been running very well lately.
Yeah, it's been a nice shift of momentum, a deeply needed shift of momentum. And I guess let's just start there, and I'll be quick with this. Look, Ryan and I have been both incredibly busy. I've gone through a move and probably have another one coming here in the not-too-distant future. Ryan himself has just gone through a move and travels all over the place for his job. So it makes recording hard. In fact, Ryan's taken time out of his night tonight, and he's away from home and at his work function, and here he is doing this podcast. So it's appreciated, but I thought it was time that we do this because it's coming up to a race that we have talked about since it was announced, and much to my chagrin, it's probably going to be one and done, sadly, even though I think it looks incredibly beautiful. It's hard to dedicate time to a Kaulig Racing centric podcast when in reality, outside of Chandler Smith, the first several weeks of the season probably couldn't have been more negative. And then there was the penalty stuff, and Ryan and I talked about this off air. I'm not the type of person that can come on here and toe the company line and give gold stars to everybody. And that's not just NASCAR, that's any form of content that I do on YouTube or various podcasts. And it can weigh on you if every week you're coming out here and being negative. And I'm not saying we're going to be doing this weekly, but we're definitely going to be doing this far more frequently than we have been recently. So that said, while the team got off to an abysmal start, in my opinion, in the Cup Series, where most of our attention will be today, credit is due where it is deserved, and they have been able to right the ship quite a bit recently. Ryan, where do you stand on all that, man?
They really have, and it has been a while since we've had an opportunity to talk to everybody, and I'm very happy to be back on board, and I think everybody knows, whether you follow us here on the channel or if you follow us on our Facebook pages, Kaulig Nation, Dinger Nation, or even on our Twitter handle here at Trophy Hunter Pod when on race days when we're more active. We love Kaulig Racing. We love AJ Allmendinger. We love Justin Haley. We love our Xfinity guys, and everything comes from that passion that drives us. And to say the start of the season was a struggle was a real understatement. And I've lost track, but I mean, AJ wrecked the first 6 weeks in a row or something like that. He finished most of them, but he was wrecking, crossing the finish line. He was wrecking, getting spun out. It's just a brutal start to a season for a team that I really did feel had some high expectations. And I know we sat here at the beginning of the season and we kind of talked through what we expected, and were wins on the table. I think we were optimistic, but knew it would be a struggle. But I mean, we weren't even sniffing top 20s there for a good chunk of the season. So the fact that they've made a very significant turnaround for various reasons, as whether they focused on the Cup program a bit more, or they've got the right mindset. I mean, listen, AJ's had his issues earlier in the year. I mean, he lost his cat. There's some internal issues that he just wasn't on his game, and that seems to have been dissipated. And whether his form has improved, the team's form has improved, maybe all of those variables, doesn't matter. the cars have been fast. AJ's been fast. Justin Haley's been fast. And we've seen some fruits of our labor. And if you look at, the playoff picture, AJ Allmendinger has moved his way up to 19th in points from he was 26th in points not 6 weeks ago. So the huge gains, over 80 points gained to the cut line. And it's, we're earlier in the year, we were dead in the water. And now we have a realistic shot of making the playoffs on points. And we're coming to Chicago, the road course, where very few drivers, maybe 2 or 3, have experience on a street course, where AJ has a very strong chance of actually going out there and winning this race. So my confidence level has increased tenfold, even from a month ago, with the quality of the organization and where they stand at this point in the season.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do. And I mean, AJ ended up using one of his 5 Xfinity starts on an oval and went out and won the fucking thing. So, pardon my language, but I mean, he had some help. There was some very friendly car damage that definitely aided his vehicle. But, the credit's due where it's deserved. I think I read on Twitter, I forget who had it up there a couple days ago, but if you take the last 6 or 7 races, AJ's the 10th best car in the series during that time. So like that's a significant step up. And yeah, I think Chicago is their best shot at securing a win this year. That's not to say he can't win at Indy or can't win at the Glen or can't win at the Roval. Mind you, you'd need to make it into the chase for that to count for something else. But even if he doesn't, he could still very well win that race. But Chicago's a different beast, man. Simply because they haven't run it. There are parts of the track that, yeah, there is room to move around. The problem is, while it might look like the track is wide, you don't have any of the runoff area that all these guys utilize on all the other road courses. Like, you think of a place like Sonoma or Coda or Indy, where they have like wide stretches of runoff. It's just not there. And with the new rules, which, by the way, I hate the idea that you don't stop the race at the end of a stage just because it's on a road course now. I don't like it. I don't think it's consistent at all. It has taken away entertainment value from the road courses as well. It might be better for our guy because, frankly, our guy is going to be more consistent on a lap-to-lap basis. But all it takes is one pit stop, and you're dead in the water and gotta pray for a caution. I don't like it. I think if you're going to do stage breaks everywhere else, you got to do them on the road courses too. So yeah. I just worry he's going to pit and end up back in 20th. And I got to tell you, regardless of that rule being in or not, this thing is going to be a wreck fest.
It will be. There's going to be, you're worried about, stage breaks and how that makes road courses more competitive and, frankly, more exciting for the casual fan. And I think we recognize over the last 5 years, 6 years maybe, the stages have increased the enjoyment out of road courses because they're more packed. Drivers are kind of just aggressive and push each other out of the way. And stock cars in general aren't really intended for road courses, so they're quite the show. So, that's increased the value, and taking that away naturally has had some negative opinions of road course racing. But as you said, Chicago is going to be a mess on its own accord. There's going to be a lot of carnage, and you have to avoid the carnage. Whether you win the race or not, he needs to finish, and he needs to finish well to gather points, because there's going to be a ton of points out there whether he wins the race or not. And I'll just, last night I was sitting here in my hotel room, balmy, lovely Cleveland, Ohio, everyone, for anybody in this area. And I was watching the Roval race where it just poured the monsoon race 3-4 years ago. And every lap, 3 cars were wrecking, every single lap. And I expect similar carnage this year at the Chicago road course, street course. And they're not going to throw yellows. If there's a bad enough accident, they'll throw a yellow. They'll have to. But there is going to be a lot of on-track incidents where cars get stuffed into a barrier or into a corner, and they're not going to throw yellow. They can't. There will be no race if they throw yellows for all of these incidents. So
I got to disagree with that.
Straight.
I'm on the opposite side of the fence here, man. And we're about to take a look at why. Is if there's cars spinning and getting stuck in barriers, you have no choice but to throw the yellow. Like, I do think, and this is where someone's going to be like, okay, well, thank God we're not going back here. And chances are they're probably not going back here. That seems to be what way it's leaning. There's no runoff area. You're going to get someone killed if you don't throw the yellow, like legitimately. And like, there's some of these areas where you go, oh my God, if someone wrecks 8 rows up, we're screwed. We're going to have to come to a complete stop. I like it, but man, I think there's going to be a ton of yellows. I think there's, in fact, this might sound, I don't even know how do you know how long the race is? I know how long this race is that we're about to have on the right-hand side.
Yeah, I don't actually.
By the way, for those of you, obviously this was not a scheduled live stream, so all you guys will be watching after the fact. But the video that we have up on the right-hand side of our screen is the Chicago Street Course that iRacing is doing tonight, the iRacing Pro Series, and it'll give you an idea just how tight things are. And keep in mind, like even here, it's a long straightaway, and clearly it's wide. But here's the problem: there's no runoff area. If something happens, you're screwed. There's nowhere to go. There's no grass to cut across. There's no curb to hop. It's going to be a demolition derby. And depending on how many laps there are, I expect to run anywhere from 30 to 60% of this race under yellow.
I agree with I agree with you in that there will be a lot of yellow, but there's going to reach a point where NASCAR is just going to throw their hands. I can feel it. And
start pushing cars off the track to like downsize the field. Like, oh,
there's going to be there's probably going to be upwards of 10 cars at DNF in this race. I think that's a fair assessment. But if you remember Heartburn Turn at the Roval, you can drive smack into that barrier and get yourself backed up and hopefully keep going. I think that's what they're going to bank on. Even if a car wrecks, that they'll be able, if there's enough lead time
even
before the field makes it back around, that they can hopefully get their stuff together. Even with that being said, it is going to be a bloodbath, and you cannot make a mistake in this race if you want to win it.
Oh God!
Because if AJ has a bad pit stop, oh yeah,
oh boy.
Yeah, there's not much room there.
They're in the wall back there. Yep, someone's already in the wall. And that's the difference between here and the Roval. The Roval at least has runoff areas. There's no runoff areas here. I know this might not be great conversation for people, but this is my first time seeing anyone run on this place. I've seen their little video that they put out. But, like, it's tight, man. Like, kudos to these guys. Like, even the pro racing series, like, I'm shocked there's not more wrecks already. But they're already well spread out, too.
Well, and that, not to get off point, but this shows the talent of these iRacers, too. It is an incredible skill to do this iRacing at this level. And as somebody that's dabbled in iRacing and wrecks a whole lot, this is not easy what they're doing here.
Hang on. I gotta take this back a second. Did you see how bloody narrow that was? The wall literally comes in on the straightaway.
Yeah, it daddies in. I see that. There's going to be a lot of cars that catch that corner.
My God. It's going to be a spectacle, if anything else.
Well, thank God these new cars have that composite body, because they're going to be banging off these walls left and right.
There's going to be no way. It comes. Oh, my God. Someone is. Oh, boy. That's not going to be a friendly area of the track. I don't think there are friendly areas of the track, to be frank. I think when we get this visual on Sunday, though, the downtown Chicago area, that's going to be really cool.
Yeah. And you've mentioned a few times that you don't think this will be back after this year. And I have a sneaking suspicion. I'm from the Chicago area, everybody. I grew up about an hour west of Chicago, so I know this area pretty well. And the politics that are driving all of these people to say they don't want NASCAR back, once they see how much money the NASCAR brings in and these very, very expensive suites for these people to sit and watch this race from the front grandstand, I can tell you is going to be several $1,000s a ticket. the amount of money that the city of Chicago is going to make over the next couple of days is going to be astronomical. And when they see how much money they make, they're going to change their tune. The politicians will always grease their wheels and grease their pockets. So they have a 3-year contract to run this race. I think it'll get all 3 years. I really do.
I hope so. There's significant talk already underway, not speculation, but already talk happening between NASCAR and the province of Quebec about them doing Circuit de Villeneuve again, but with the Cup Series this time. And God, sign me up for that. It's literally my favorite racetrack on the planet. At least there's some runoff areas there, but guess what? That's another very, very tight racetrack.
Yeah. It's honestly, I've seen a lot of Smiths. At this point, it's just a matter of an announcement. I'm about 99% sure it's happening. So
my thing is, if you don't lose Chicago, what comes out in favor of Montreal?
Indianapolis Street Course.
But wouldn't they be replacing that with the Brickyard?
Yes, they would go back to the Oval.
So I don't know.
They're losing that road course.
Which is unfortunate. I love that road course. I think it's great. It's a ton of fun. I don't agree with taking it away, but as long as it gets replaced with another road course, I'll deal.
Yeah, and it is interesting. You're right. I don't know what they would get rid of to make it work because we believe, again, we're in that part of the year where there's a lot of rumors, but Bristol's going to lose a date,
which is interesting.
The spring date is going to go away completely.
And
that's going to open the door for Wilkesboro to get the pay race, and then in the not too distant future, the Nashville Fairgrounds as well. So definitely, there's going to be some changes to the NASCAR schedule in the not too distant future here.
Oh boy, this is going to be a ton of fun to watch on Sunday as we just keep that up on the right hand side.
I'm going to enjoy it. It's going to be a pleasant, awesome, terrible experience.
and as much as we love AJ, this is the type of track where your guy could be out lap one. And I hope that's not the case. But one of the reasons why I have this track pinned as his favorite to win this year is strictly based off talent alone. One, people's ability to practice this track. Now, as we're seeing it on here, I didn't think iRacing would have this track up already, but there's only so much simulation you can do. And to be frank, a lot of the teams have complained about their simulation being not particularly close this year, not just Kaulig, but a lot of teams. And you're going to have no visual history or cues or anything like that going into this. No setup that's you can put a different road course setup there if you want, but this thing behaves differently than any other road course on the series. So like that practice session is going to be so vital. And I think the drivers who have experience and know how they want their car balanced on a track like this are going to have an advantage. And I think that benefits our guy.
Yeah, it really does. The only other driver that has true experience on any kind of street course is Austin Cindric. So I expect to see Cindric up front as well. And then outside of that, it is a crapshoot. I mean, obviously you have your guys that are just good on road courses. You're going to have your Tyler Reddicks, your Chase Elliott's. I'm sure Kyle Larson will be there, and throw in maybe another ringer like Michael McDowell or Busher has been really good on the road courses the last year plus. Those guys will probably all be up front, but there will be a noticeable separation, I think, between the top 3 or 4 guys and the rest of the field.
I honestly think you're probably looking at Allmendinger, believe it or not, Austin Cindric. I think this is going to be a place he shines at. And then your usual suspects. You know what? I don't know about Chase Elliott. Chase did not seem like Chase at the last road course. He was still good, but he's usually pretty dominant. But I still wouldn't be surprised if it's some combination of Allmendinger, Elliott, Reddick, and Cindric out front, and everybody else. Chase in qualifying is going to be vital, though. Like, especially for AJ, like you cannot slip. And a lot of the times in qualifying on these road courses, he goes a little too much, and what should be a first, second, or third qualifying position ends up 7th or 8th for him, even though he's capable of more. And this is going to be one of those areas where you're really going to want to hit your spots, because the difference between starting third and starting 12th could be the end of your race.
Absolutely. And as you said, there's a strong chance turn one, lap one's going to have some carnage. And if you're in that middle of the pack soup, you could be an innocent victim and be out of the race without ever having an opportunity. And we've seen this before. AJ's strength on road courses isn't necessarily his one lap speed. I mean, obviously he's fast, but his strength is 10 laps, 15 laps, consistency, keeping the tires underneath him, keeping the brakes under him. That's where he excels compared to the rest of the field. And he wears you down over the course of a day and usually doesn't make mistakes. And he's going to have to not make mistakes. And again, we touched on it earlier as well. The pit crew has to be on it, because if he's running third and falls to seventh, there's a strong chance he doesn't get those positions back. It's too hard. It's going to be really hard to pass. So he's going to have to be on it. The pit crew is going to have to be on it. The entire organization is going to have to be on it. And all three components have to be perfect to win this race. But again, we've said it multiple times now. There's nobody else in the field that has the experience on a track like this that gives them the best chance to win than AJ Allmendinger. So we'll see how it plays out on Sunday. And I won't be upset if he doesn't win, but I will be upset if he does not pocket a ton of points.
Yeah, the win would be great, because then you're in the playoffs, and I really do think this is his best shot. But look at the amount of points that he pocketed at Sonoma. Like, he got a ton of points at Sonoma. He got a ton of points actually just at Nashville this weekend too. He needs a day like that. He needs to be scoring significant points in all stages. The one thing I'll say about what we're watching on the right-hand side of the screen, I'm not seeing manhole covers on here, and let me tell you, there are manhole covers all over that track. I was watching the video the other day, and how cars behave going over them is going to be interesting, because hitting one of those at 120 miles an hour down a front stretch is not going to be friendly.
Well, my question is, we've seen street courses before in other forms of racing.
Mm-hmm.
Has that been an issue in the past? I don't recall, these covers being an issue for like IndyCar. I don't know how much IndyCar you watch, but I mean, those cars are so low to the ground. You would think if they hit a cover and something happened, they'd really be screwed.
I don't know if I don't have enough experience watching street racing, to be honest. I can tell you F1 doesn't appear to have an issue at Monaco, although that's a different beast. But I can tell you, whenever they do the IndyCar race up here in Toronto, downtown Toronto, it's always a wreck fest.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite races in the IndyCar series. Toronto is a good show. So, but
Toronto, I'll sign up for that.
Yes, it's very interesting. And this year they had a new track layout, right? If I remember right. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But it's a very exciting week for the boys, and the one thing we can't, you just have it or you don't. It's momentum, and right now that 16 team on the Cup side has a ton of momentum.
This is Justin Marks' race, right?
Yeah, Marks is running the Xfinity car this weekend.
Very curious to see how he's going to do. I'm really surprised it's not Jordan Taylor. Like, I don't know what racing experience Marks has, but I thought Taylor was going to be back in there for this one. And I hope he does well. I'm definitely not expecting him to win, but I'd love to see him, challenge for a top 10 or something.
Yeah, Justin Marks is a good little road racer. He's got 1 or 2 Xfinity wins on road courses. His only wins in the Xfinity series were at road courses.
I didn't know he'd done this before.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He raced Xfinity. He was a NASCAR racer for a decade plus. So,
and then went and made money elsewhere somehow. So.
And then he realized his driving skills weren't as good as his business skills, and got into the ownership side. But yeah, Justin Marks has quite a lot of driving experience, and he just raced a Trans Am race last weekend, qualified on the pole and finished third. So I'm not expecting Justin Marks to go out and win, but I think he's got a strong top 10. The car's fast. That 10 car, We touched on it very briefly. Won last week with AJ, has 3 wins on the season now. You put a good driver in it, it's going to win. So I expect Justin to be pretty damn competitive in that car.
Yeah, I think it'll be a rough one for Chandler. He hasn't fared well at the road courses this year, but and Daniel sadly hasn't had a great season either again. But we'll touch on that stuff in a future video. As we get ready to wrap things up here, I just wanted to ask you to be a betting man. Is AJ making the playoffs? Yay or nay?
Nay, he will not make the playoffs. And I say that not because I don't believe in where he's at and where he's competing, because he's competing at a high level. The problem is Chase Elliott hasn't won. Alex Bowman hasn't won. Bubba Wallace hasn't won. And if any one of those 3 drivers wins, that bumps the playoff spot down one more peg. And if you look at his points differential, he's 24 points behind Daniel Suarez. But if you look at Bubba Wallace, that's an additional 28 points. So he would be 52 points out of the playoffs right now if somebody below the cut line wins. And I just have my gut instinct says Chase Elliott's going to win a race sometime in the next 9 weeks. He's too good. That car is too good. It's going to be really hard to point in, and I am not in a position to say AJ is going to win this year, just because we know winning is very, very hard.
So I can't just give a yay or nay answer because there's too many variables. But I will say this. When I look at this points, I'm not looking at Suarez, and I'm not even looking at Bubba Wallace for the reasons that you just mentioned. I'm looking at Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher and going, can you make up 100 points in 9 races? Normally, I'd say no. But if the car continues to run how it has on ovals, and AJ at least, he can't have a coda from the last 2 years where it should be a win or a top 3 and then you wreck out. He needs basically top 5s in all the stages and all the road courses from here on out. I think there's also 2 super speedways to mix in there. So like you have ample opportunity to do this, but you got to capitalize. I think they can point in, even with a Chase Elliott win, even with an Alex Bowman win. I think they can point in, but you can't just be looking at 15 and 16. You got to be looking at 13 and 14 and going, how can I catch those guys? And he has been catching those guys because those guys were way the hell ahead of him. So if he can continue to do that, I think he'll be fine. But if you have one bad slip where you're 27th at Indy, 31st at Watkins Glen, 21st at Chicago, it's over.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, again, and we did see it at Coda. I mean, Coda is a prime example where you run third all day long, have a late race restart, and before you know it, you're finishing 30th. We saw it happen to him this year, so it is certainly a possibility. You can't discount it. But my concern is the super speedways. We know AJ's a good super speedway racer. He's proven that at this point. But you're at the mercy of the rest of the field, and you can be wrecked running second, right? So, we expect AJ to run well at these super speedways, but there is no guarantee he's going to finish well. So it is going to be a tough road to go to point in. And again, just referencing that marker, he's not 98 points behind Chris Buescher. He's 120 points behind Chris Buescher.
Sorry.
And that's hard. That's 4 races in 4 races worth of points that he has to make up in 9 weeks. And again, listen, AJ's been running very well, but that is a ton of ground. I think too much ground to try to make up. So, the hole that he dug early in the year is probably going to come back and bite him.
Yep.
Hate to say it, but it probably will. But at this point, whether he makes the playoffs or not, whether he wins a race or not, if he can continue to run well and put strong finishes together and show that this little 6-week stretch was not a fluke, that's something that can be built on as an organization. So I'm not throwing in the towel by any stretch of the imagination. There is a lot of season left to go. But making the playoffs is going to be a challenge. I just think, you have to focus 1 week at a time and continue to make the gains that they've shown over the last 6 weeks.
Absolutely. And the other thing they can't have, as we touched on off the top, is your pit crew can't let you down. And I thought the pit crew was better earlier this year, but there's been some slips lately. Somehow they finished 10th place while having lost more than 20 positions on pit road that day, which is just insanity. And you had a little Twitter exchange with Kaulig Racing about said thing. And look, if there's things to be held accountable for, you have to hold them accountable for. And as you're in this stretch drive, every millimeter is going to matter. And if your pit crew does not find a way to at least be competent during this time, it's over unless you win. But hey, Sunday's Chicago, and I got to tell you, at least in terms of driver skill, there's nobody I'd put my hat in the ring for more than AJ Allmendinger this weekend.
Yep, I live in a state that has legal sports betting, and I'm going to drop a few dollars on AJ to win this week. I just this is the week to do it. If I know his odds are going to be better than usual, but he has the experience.
I think the odds came out today, and I don't think his odds were that great. And I seen people going on Twitter about it, going, "Hey, if there's a time to grab Allmendinger, go grab him." Now that could have changed because these things change all the time very quickly. But when they first posted, there was some people posting, like non-Allmendinger fans posting, "Hey, like AJ is good value at this." I think at one point he was, is it 13-1? I think it was.
Let's see. My system's laggy, but he is plus 1,100. Not 100% sure what that equates to. He is 1, 2, 3, 4. He has the sixth. He's tied with Chastain for the 5th best odds.
Okay, so he's moved up. Yeah, he was further down this morning.
So, and again, this is just one of the sites. I mean, there's so many sites, and it's different everywhere. But he's definitely still on the high end to win. But at plus 1,100, for those that don't gamble a lot, that's. You slap $10 down on that bet, and you're going to win 110. So,
yep.
It's pretty good return on investment if he does get the dub. So, it's obviously this was the week we circled last year that his best opportunity to win, and with the momentum he's carrying into this race. Never have I been more excited about a race. I really do think this is his best shot. My only concern is we know how AJ gets when he feels like he's a favorite. He puts a lot of pressure on himself, and I hope he can go into this race and be calm, cool, collected, and just get the job done.
I'll end with this. I ask one thing this week and one thing only, and I can live with the rest. Don't have equipment failure at this place, because then you're not even giving your driver a chance. And don't shit the bed down pit road. And the rest, wherever the cards fall, I can deal with. For Ryan, I'm Sean. We'll be back after Chicago. Will we be talking about an AJ Allmendinger qualifying berth? Will we be talking about Justin Haley qualifying berth? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see what happens. Don't forget to check us out at Trophy Hunter Pod on Twitter. Where can they find us on Facebook, Ryan?
You can find us at Kaulig Nation and Dinger Nation on our Facebook pages, right here at Trophy Hunter Pod on Twitter and Instagram as well. We're all over the socials. Come check us out.
All right, that's going to do it for us. We'll catch you on the flip side. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the mayhem that is the Chicago Street Race. And our condolences and thoughts are definitely with Jimmie Johnson and their entire family right now, with what's going on with that stuff. So definitely thinking about them, and just enjoy your weekend.
Yep, terrible tragedy there. Really, really do wish the Johnson family all the best. And I know it's hard, but happy 4th of July this weekend. Party responsibly, have a great weekend, enjoy it, and we'll see you on the flip side.
Canada Day. Yeah, that's right. One of the co-hosts is Canadian. Good night, people.